Exactly 5 minutes past 10. I used to watching Smart Means Business and Manju Barija here with Masi Katsime, and of course heading into the last hour of the show. And I still to remind you that notice that apart from that, all these discussions that are happening on the show today are powered by Zabu. That is a platform from Altex. We just made your trading experience much more easy and friendly. And of course, the markets are already on as we speak right now. And I urge you to participate by dialing *292 hash. And here you can be able to buy bonds with just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Yes, at 8:15, that's when the markets open, and we know there will be a stopping at exactly 3:15 p.m. So you have the rest of the day to capitalize and make money out of it. And this runs Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends on the public holidays when, well, you can access these markets. But of course, that's not the big deal. The bigger picture in here is that you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make money. And something which I believe is quite key and important when it comes to your financial growth and development. That's why Zabu confidently comes out and says, "My money, my future," and Altex East Africa says, "Do something new." Now, of course, heading into our insight and our discussion in here, quite, of course, relating to the narcotics bill, which was signed, I think, about 8 days ago by the Parliament of Uganda. And, of course, this allows licensed people to actually plant marijuana, and only licensed, but strictly for medical use only. If any possible abuse is really experienced, well, that wouldn't be something very key. I mean, that wouldn't be good. There is actually a big penalty as a result of that. But of course, it's still a bill, and we anticipate that the president might actually assent to it, and it becomes a law officially as a result of that. Now, of course, this was passed still some time back. It was supposed to be passed, but due to lack of quorum, everything didn't go really as anticipated. But there has also been a key discussion still into the law, into this bill rather, which was passed without regulations. You know, what are the regulations? What are the parameters? What are the frameworks that actually have to operate within that law? And of course, which it's quite inefficient to pass a bill without regulations that have been put away. Marijuana has been legalized in some states.
Yeah.
Like I think San Francisco. I'm not mistaken. San Diego, San Francisco, in the United States of America, that actually marijuana is legalized to plant it. But of course, because I feel like all governments, if they have to take this initiative, it's purposely for medicinal usage.
I must say, actually, I think there is a part of Uganda that is being affected because there are the huge growers of marijuana. So I'm thinking, just because you grow it doesn't mean you consume it.
Just because you grow it does, yeah.
Or maybe you could be selling it for other purposes, for consumption, and of course, a given particular part of misuses, the only problem with cut, it's just the misuse.
The misuse.
Yes, the misuse that is in Uganda is too much with cut. People consume a lot of cut. It's available almost everywhere. So the ban coming in and maybe regulations could be set in place, for those that are going to grow it.
For abuse, I mean, regulations in case of abuse.
In case of abuse, but anyway, we shall see how this is going to turn out once they set those regulations for the growers, how much they're going to be getting, because this is it's used for medicinal purposes for most of the tablets. They include cuts.
And preservatives.
Preservatives, they include cuts. So for the economic part of it, that drug is really important.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, of course, we know that medicinal marijuana is one of the most billion-dollar industry globally. And of course, as we know, years to come, majority of big pharmaceutical companies globally have invested huge sums of millions of billions of dollars into this to make sure that they can actually capitalize in the future when it is the key aspect in here. Now, the Parliament passed the Narcotics Bill Substance Control, the Narcotics Substances Control Bill, that is 2023, which now allows the licensed farming and use of marijuana strictly, that is for medical use, and sets harsh penalties for a multitude of offenses related, that is to the substance abuse. And of course, the 94 clauses bill was passed. That was on 22nd of August, and of 2023, following the grueling sittings in which the members of parliament had actually lengthy deliberations onto the provisions. Of course, quite a huge provisions that the clauses for that bill. Must you sound like you want to say something?
I'm reading a report, and one of the members of parliament was because his district actually has most of these cat growers.
Yeah.
And his concern was, why aren't we banning alcohol? Because we consume it more than marijuana. So I was, I found it funny because with alcohol, really, I don't think we can ban alcohol, really.
Alcohol? No, of course it's a business, and
it's a business.
We have the East African breweries, quite a key generating business entity, and so it's quite a big business. That is something that actually, if that would be one of what they call encroachment of human rights, which can actually have further financial implications.
Well, also, marijuana could have also,
No, marijuana is absolutely okay.
Yeah.
For its right purpose.
Yeah.
Like clearly, the bill states it out. Medicine usage only.
Not to get high.
Not to get high, not to smoke it, and you cause
pollution.
Havoc.
Live in the environment.
The environment at the same time.
So of course, the fines someone found with abusing or trafficking narcotic substances faces a fine up to 1 billion. Okay.
1 billion.
Wow.
1 billion Ugandan shillings, right?
But yeah, all life.
That is for those that are trafficking, because of course we know that they make money, so that is quite a fine worth it.
And of course people do marijuana. People in high end do drug. They have like drug cartels right there in their villages, right there. It's
an underground business. And actually, of recent, there was also discussion about these lakes people queue out there. I don't know how to call them.
Mairunji,
call them Mairunji. A ban onto that, which is also actually one of those underground businesses that have made people wealthy in terms of generation of revenue, because these people actually employ people that transport them, and these people actually will tell that they earn money. Some tell I've been able to construct a house as a result of that. I hear it's just hearsays. I don't know how true that is really. It's really can't tell. The people that actually participate in those acts can really explain it much more better. Now, as we proceed here, if assented to by the president, clause 1 actually gives that is the bill an immediate enforceability. In which, in what the chairperson of the Committee on Defense and Internal Affairs, that is Honorable Wilson Kadrendre, said was the urgency to plug the loopholes in the regulation of narcotics and psychotropic substances. Now, following the annulment, the Narcotic Drugs and, of course, Control Act 2016 by the Constitutional Court, Parliament definitely went back to the drawing board to see what provisions can actually be changed. Of course, the first one, which was issued in the Act of 2016. See, and as we will still see further into the report, government reintroduced the bill. That is 23rd May 2023, 2 weeks after that is the Constitutional Court nullified that is the act on grounds at the time of course of passing in the Parliament. That was, I think, May, like I said earlier when I was introducing this, due to lack of quorum and how best they could actually go about this. Now, the new law seeks to allow cultivation of marijuana and and cut strictly for medical and authorized use with extreme penalties. That is included like forfeiture of properties and lengthy jail terms and hefty fines in case actually somebody violates this particular act. Once asserted to, that is by the president. So yeah, I think even General Kahindo mentioned that legalizing marijuana and the possibilities of that, and something which needs quite a huge degree of discipline for a nation, most especially if we are to say that we are targeting that money money, that's something that we need to really see strict aspects.
Yeah, I agree with you. Instead of, because the amount we consume, if we actually took it onto the market, we would have something for our country.
So could it be that once it's legalized, we are likely to consume more than we can put in the market?
Yeah, definitely, mostly the youth. Do you know the number of youth that consume narcotics? Do you know the number of youth? Most of them are usually high. High, 24/7, high. Even at work, people are high. Yes. So it's definitely abuse. I think people would actually run mad when this is legalized, because you could get it anywhere, blunt being sold anywhere. Anywhere you can access it. But for getting it actually within, now that the ban is in there, you have to have your guy to get that cut.
Okay.
But of course, looking at the economy part of it, it's a good initiative, because there we shall have less consuming and more of commercializing
marijuana.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we could use it because we have the factories or industries that make medicine. We could have more of these people selling and also getting money instead of consuming.
Okay.
Consuming. Yeah, just like we are shifting from subsistence farming to commercial farming. That's the same thing we may do for this marijuana, narcotics, or marunji, whatever it is, to commercialize it.
Okay.
And make money out of it.
Interesting. Now, the committee definitely posits all licenses and permits to be issued under this act, centrally to be issued by the ministry that is responsible for health. And since the permission to use narcotic drugs and these substances is restricted, actually, and not to only for only medical purposes. So the Ministry of Internal Affairs should remain the enforcement arm of the government, and of course that's according to what some of the members of Parliament were suggesting, that the Ministry of Health should be the one to offer these licenses, since this is actually made for medicine purposes only. But anyway, hopefully once this really comes to pass, we can actually use this as an opportunity as a country, Uganda, to see how we can leverage on this and actually capitalize quite some huge profits from that. But let's not really consume more of it. And that means that it will call for strict regulations.
Well, for the penalties, for those that are really good at being disobedient, these are the penalties according to the offenses that you may have committed. Yes. A person who smokes or inhales, is it really? If I'm a passive smoker, anyway. A person who smokes, inhales, sniff, or uses the drug without lawful use, the penalty is 1 billion.
1 billion.
Where will you get 1 billion as an individual? Yet you cannot get 1K for lunch. So be careful, people, the choices you make, knowing that we've seen that
jail being jailed because you can't pay it.
The anti-gay law thing being
being put in place. But this one is not yet, the president has not yet assigned to it, but
yes, let's wait and see. But these are the penalties, just in case, just to know. Or be jailed for years not exceeding 10 years.
Not exceeding 10 years.
Yeah. Concealing or transferring processed proceeds from trafficking drugs, that is 20 years in jail. Then any property bought using the money gained from the sale of drugs will not be allowed. And of course, the property will be confiscated and taken by government.
That's drug money.
That's drug money. That is not your money. And trafficking the narcotic substance will be also at 1 billion, or fine for 3 times the market value of the drug at the time. Wow.
Okay.
Whoa, that's huge. Now, pharmacists, nurses with certificate of specialty, palliative care, or clinical officer who illegally sells to persons, that is also going to be 1 billion. Those nurses that prescribe
the medicine.
Yes, so they'll be like, take Coca-Cola. One leaf is, but that's prescription.
So so wrong prescription of the drug towards the nurses. So the nurses are going to be fined.
Yeah.
As a result of that. Noted. That's a key point in there to really consider.
Yeah, so receiving additional drug without disclosure of earlier received or 10 years of both 400 million. And of course, supply of narcotics to children without medical reasons, the 1 billion, or imprisonment, or both.
Okay.
You pay the fine, 1 billion, and
get
go to
imprisoned.
jail. Children are most vulnerable. So cultivation without license issued by the Ministry of Health, 2.4 million fine.
Okay.
Or jail, 5 years jail term. Then refusal to share documents or records about your farm, or that is 500 million or 10 years or both.
Okay.
According to how big-headed you are, that is how the penalty will go. So you have to comply. So definitely, if this is passed, if at all it's passed, 1 billion is the top-notch money.
Okay. It's the benchmarking.
Yeah.
Fine rather.
That's a lot. That's a lot of
That's
money.
a lot of money.
But for someone who's trafficking, it's not that bad, because I mean, trafficking itself, huge amounts of money. People out there love fresh
money. Yeah.
Love fresh herbs. Yeah.
All right. Let's wait and see. And of course, it's only a matter of time that we can actually prove the viability of this. Now it's exactly 22 minutes past 9. It's the watching Smart Means Business. I'm Andrew Barigi here with Masika Tim, and we are driving you all the way. Of course, as we are finally getting into the final sessions in here. But of course, still to remind you that the markets on the Zabo platform are already on. Participate. Star 292 hash is the code for you to be a part of these markets from Zabo. And here you can buy bonds and securities for just 15,000. You get in shillings, but definitely you can still choose to invest more than 15,000. But Zabo says, well, bring couple 15,000. Let's grow together as you can invest. And this is meant a reality as a result of that. Now the markets, as we speak right now, they already opened. That is at exactly 8:15, and they will be running all the way to 12:15 p.m. That is West African time, effective Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays when this markets cannot be accessed. But of course, despite that, you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make money on something which I believe it's quite key and instrumental when it comes to your financial growth and development. Zabo made this a reality for you, and when you participate, this is something that of great benefit. Well, at this point in time, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we shall still dwell into the narcotics bill, but of course, it's going to be further explained as we shall proceed. Stick around.
Smart 24, driving business. Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabo in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial star 292 hash. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabo. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
These days, our homes are no longer just the places we live. It's where we attend meetings, go to class, keep each other safe, and entertain ourselves. To do this smoothly, you need a reliable internet connection. Buy the MTN WakaNet router, which connects up to 32 devices and gets a free 40 GB data bundle at only 149,000 shillings. Or buy the MTN WakaNet MiFi at only 75,000 shillings and enjoy a free 15 GB bundle to stream, study, work, and play on the go. Visit any MTN service center to buy the MTN WakaNet router or MiFi and enjoy the internet that does amazing things.
In a world where trade drives economic growth and development, Africa is now embracing a new era of intracontinental trade through the African Continental Free Trade Area to unleash its immense potential. Witness the spirit of entrepreneurship as African businesses forge a way into partnership and venture beyond their borders in a single African market. Discover the innovative solutions being initiated and created to address challenges and seize opportunities in sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, and technological advancements. We expand our lens to showcase the efforts and success of economic integration across the entire African continent, from West Africa to East Africa, North Africa to Southern Africa, Central Africa, and even the diaspora, as the tapestry of unity grows stronger with each story we tell. African Perspective, driving business and trade across Africa. Don't miss the African Perspective on Smart 24 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at exactly 6 p.m. East African Standard Time as we drive business and trade across Africa. Download the Smart Digital app on Play Store and enjoy your favorite TV shows, documentaries, and radio in your palm on the go. Smart 24, driving business.
Well, it's 29 minutes to the top of the hour as we're heading into the last, of course, discussions of the show, the last 30 minutes. I'm Andrew Barajan and I'm with Masika Tsime, and we're driving you all the way. Now, still to remind you that the markets on the Zabo platform are already on. Starting 92 hash is the code for you to participate, and you can buy bonds and securities for just 15,000 you get in shillings, as the market's already opened at exactly 8:15, and they will be running up to 3:15 p.m. That is the South African time. It's effective Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays when these markets cannot be accessed. But of course, despite that, you have the rest of the days. And to capitalize and make money for yourself is something which I believe is quite key and important when it comes to your financial growth and development as an individual. That's why Zabo clearly says, my money, my future, and all that East Africa tells you, well, you got to do something new. It is 2023. Well, now, since we, in our discussions previously, we talked about, we're breaking down the narcotics bill. And now, of course, for further breakdown, we're going to get into this discussion. But of course, above all, it will be also answering the aspect of the economic relevancy of this bill.
Just passed the anti-narcotics bill 2023. The bill had been passed earlier, was sent to the president for assent into an act. He assented and it became an act. However, it was nullified in court because at the time the bill was passed, it was passed with no quorum in Parliament. That's why during this debate, the different whips, NRM and other party whips, were whipping members throughout the regional whips to ensure full attendance of the House both during debate and finally at the passing of the bill. So what is the bill about? The bill is about control of use of substances, narcotic substances. These are seen as substances that affect the brain and eventually lead sometimes to mental disorder and have an effect on society. Now, the result of mental disorders leads to several issues. One, those, especially the youth, may misuse the drugs or those narcotics to make them high in the quest to get different things out of it, energy, confidence, what have you. But in the end, they become addicted. And when they become addicted, eventually they degenerate into mental issues. And mental issues sometimes degenerate into violence. So somebody who is mentally disturbed, we have had people who have hacked families to death. We have had people who have raped as a result of high drugs. So to the youth, it is potentially very dangerous to take narcotics because they can lead them to very dangerous circumstances. Secondly, when you go to the hospitals, especially our mental hospital, Butabika Regional Referral Hospital, you find that there are so many, including old people, that are already mentally disturbed. And these mental disturbances, more than 80% have been linked to to drug abuse, use of narcotics. So the purpose of the bill is to address these issues so that our youth, our elderly people who eventually get addicted to these narcotics are saved from this. What does the mental health degeneration mean? It means there is a cost, a high cost of treatment of these people. As of now, all national regional hospitals are demanding services or clinics, to have clinics to deal with mental issues, all regional hospitals, which means the use of drugs is silently increasing in the country and leading to these mental issues across the country. So the best way is to control these drugs so that our population is saved. But on top of that, treatment of these people who have been diagnosed with mental problems as a result of misuse of narcotics or drug abuse, for that matter, there is a very high cost of treatment, of counseling, of bringing these people back into normal life. So apart from causing violence, especially gender-based violence in the homes, it also leads to high cost of treatment and counseling. On the other hand, the majority of people who use these drugs or narcotic substances use them to generate longevity to deal with issues of sleep, to deal with issues of sexual energy, to deal with stress, and in the end, the narcotics themselves lead to stress. Two, they have their time in the body, and when the power they have generated is lost, I suspect the reason of very many high accidents, especially with the trailers which you see roll off the road, even on stretches, straight stretches, is a result of somebody who has used these drugs, prevented sleep, but eventually sleep catches up with them. And eventually the trailer rolls off the road. When the unfortunate thing happens, they ram into other vehicles like buses carrying very many passengers, and the result is road carnage. There were arguments of economic benefits from these areas that grow some of these substances, including things like mairunji, or which is called, I don't remember its English name, mira or cat. Cat, yes. So these people, first of all, the law was there preventing possession, growing, selling, marketing of narcotics. This law was existing. So which means those people who have been earning from this have been earning illegally. Remember, some people are claiming that the drugs should be, these narcotics should be grown, for example, for purposes of medicine, for purposes of herbs to the cattle, to the goats, to the sheep, to the chicken, and other animals. However, they will not be limited to this. So sometimes, eventually, the young people and even old people access them in the process because they know there are benefits sometimes which generate into wrong benefits. So those who are growing it for commercial purposes have been growing it illegally. So what the bill seeks is one, to give the minister concerned to grant authority or license to given people, given the guidelines that will be produced to assist the implementation of the law, to grow these narcotic substances for medicinal purposes. However, in the law itself, I think it is section 11 of this bill, there is where there are substances that are prohibited. And yet, in the law, in the bill that we have passed, we are giving the minister power to grant permission or license to even the prohibited, like cannabis, which is by law prohibited. So it is my appeal that this is revisited to the extent that only permission is given to those that area were not prohibited even internationally. Those which are prohibited internationally should never be allowed to set foot in Uganda, because eventually they find themselves into the homes and shelves of those who seek to benefit from them financially. The people benefit financially, but the population suffers the consequences of consumption of these drugs. So, in a nutshell, while we have passed this bill, it is my humble request that at an opportune time, the minister should not be given authority to give a license for production of those substances that were area prohibited to be consumed both in Uganda and internationally. Let the licenses, what we call controlled production, be granted to only those substances that can be used for medicinal purposes but are not highly detrimental to our society. Once the law has been passed, a lot of prohibitive penalties have been put. As if you go to section 7 of the bill, you will find that anybody who prescribes these prohibited substances will be given a fine of such a huge amount of money, I think 1 billion, if I remember very well, or imprisonment for such a long time. The intention is to curb the misuse of these drugs. Therefore, the people, first of all, the law, once it is eventually assented to by His Excellency, I beg that time is taken around the country to educate the masses about this, because I know in my village also, there are people who grow these small few plants here and there for their animals. But it is true, they are growing them illegally. So this small one plant or 2 or 3 can easily earn you a life sentence. So it is important that once the law is assented to, before it is taken into effect, the population, government should take time to educate the masses so that everybody is aware about the dangers of having such substances near, around their homes or within their homes. We know that most of the medicines are produced out of herbs or plants, for that matter. So the plants that have medicinal ingredients really exist, and it is important that they are grown. However, excessive use of these ingredients leads to misuse of these narcotics and leads into the problems I have enumerated, the mental issues. Therefore, whereas it leads to these mental problems. It is also extremely beneficial if it is properly grown, controlled, and turned into medicinal purposes. How? The plants can be processed into medicines. And the medicines from these plants are highly valued. Therefore, the country can generate a lot of money from production, processing, and eventual exportation of these processed products from these plants. However, what will happen to the communities that use it to grow them? Albeit illegally. It is important for government to think about alternative income generating projects in these areas to make sure that the people do not resort to growing these substances illegally and eventually end up with total populations of areas put into prisons. Then the economic benefits will be twofold. One, substitute income generating projects will be given to these communities, and the communities will be saved from the originally negative effects of growing these crops. Two, by growing, processing, and eventually exporting, the country will be earning foreign exchange from these medicinal processed plants. Three, the cost of treatment as a result of drug abuse will reduce, and therefore this will be an economic benefit, and this money can be put to another use in the medical sector. And lastly, Uganda being a tropical country where these crops can grow with little assistance is likely to be a very big producer, and therefore this should be a key component in the foreign exchange earners.
Treating the people that are being affected by excessive drug abuse. And of course, for those victims, 1 billion fine. So the three options, which one would you go for?
Well, of course, come to think of it, like he said, actually, the number of cases that we have in these medical facilities are due to drug misuse. So definitely, with this, if it's put in place, that means the money that is used in treating
will reduce. But in case it's also abuse, there are two dimensions. Yes. There is putting the legalization, and some people will follow the rules, but a number of people, in case they don't follow the rules and they become abusive, that means we shall see the psychiatrist hospitals full, those people that have mental issues increasing in numbers, and that will mean the government will have to, those are expenses, yes. And we don't even, whether the space to accommodate them is there.
Well, of course, that brings us to the end of Smart Men's Business today. And of course, thank you for being a lovely audience, Masi Katsime and Andrew Bariji. And of course, as we're midway the week, and of course, tomorrow, finalizing our month, hope you have had something that you have achieved this month. And of course, we shall be giving you more updates on what has actually happened throughout the month, the stories that you could have missed. So definitely from the team and I, have a good Wednesday and keep safe.
Smart 24 driving business.